is an interview with Suee Chieh, the president of IFOA, conducted by myself. In this session, Suee Chieh will share with you his path to success as an actuary turned CEO and his view on current issues and opportunities facing the professionals in our industry. Move on to the second session, which is a conversation with Suee Chieh, the president of IFOA. To give you some background, Suee Chieh is the president of IFOA and a member of the presidential team. After graduating from the LSE in the early 80s, he spent the first 20 years of his career in Prudential on a variety of roles in London, Malaysia, and Singapore. These roles include CEO at Prudential Singapore and Regional Managing Director at Prudential Asia. In 2001, Suee Chieh made a switch from a 20-year financial services career to pursue his lifelong passion for psychology. He took a sabbatical to complete his master's degree in social and organizational psychology at Columbia University in New York. After that, he returned to the insurance industry as the CEO of NTUC Income, which is a leading composite insurer in Singapore. He eventually became Group CEO of the holding entity NTUC Enterprise. Since 2017, Suee Chieh took a break from executive roles in corporate life and spent most of his time on numerous non-executive roles, such as being a council member of IFOA and a trustee of the Singapore University of Social Sciences, just to name a few. He's a fellow of the IFOA and Royal Statistical Society and was a past president of the Life Insurance Association of Singapore. Good evening, Suee Chieh. Thank you so much for taking the time to come to our annual conference. How are you today?
I'm very good and very pleased to meet members of CANUK. And I was going to request if many of you would like to turn on your video and I look at your faces, it will make a more interesting conversations. I know the hosts can on their video, can the participants, attendees on their video? You can't, right, for a webinar?
The host can. The host and the panelists can.
On your videos, and we can, so I can see some reactions. So I would prefer to talk as if we are in the same room. But I'm very pleased to be talking to the Chinese Actuarial Network. I had hoped to meet you all in the Chinese New Year dinner in February this year. But of course, COVID-19 has other plans for us. But good that I'm meeting 127 members as participants. So I encourage those who can on your video, so I can see your faces, and then you can give me a hands up or thumbs up or whatever when I respond to the questions and the answers resonate with you.
Absolutely. I noticed that you are very active in promoting the reforms in IFOA in the current digital world, and you also urge individual actuaries to be the agent of change rather than the recipient of change. And I personally think that this will be a very interesting and relevant topic for our audiences. For example, we've seen the digital transformation coming for a while, big data, machine learning, AI, or driverless cars. And there's a challenge that digital transformation may disrupt all professions, including accountancy, management consulting, and also actuarial professions. For example, 20 years ago, managing consulting was one of the top places that graduates wanted to go to, and the value was largely driven by information asymmetry, which is harder to maintain in the current internet age, and technology may make us less relevant or even redundant in the near future. So, from your experience, what do you think is the most important mindset or skill set that we actuaries should have or develop in order to survive or thrive through this round of technology revolution?
Okay, something struck me in the way you asked the question, and I will answer your question on skill set and mindset shortly. Yeah. You mentioned about, I'm keen to ask you all to be agents of change, and you have heard enough speeches from TED, from YouTube, from your CEOs, whoever, that change is a constant and we must embrace it. And it is very easy to say, but if you are an agent of change, as opposed to be a receiver of change, it feels different, right? Because if you're an agent of change, you're in control of your destiny. But if you are a receiver of change, in whatever programs you are in your company, and I have people in HP, Cisco, and technology companies, when there are a lot of change programs, which often means restructuring, it's better to be an agent than to be a receiver, in my humble view. So you want to be on the front foot rather than be on the back foot. Yeah. So that's how I frame it. So your specific question is about skill sets and mindset. And of the two, I believe the mindset is more important. Yeah.
Yeah.
I thrive in the digital revolution, right? And you will read this in many magazines and in a lot of literature, right? But to answer you very quickly, we appreciate that the digital revolution and the fourth industrial revolution is here. Yeah, it's here. So in the last 100, 200 years, we are on a print-based society, which is things get distributed on paper. Yeah, on paper, it's not digitized. When things get digitized, the whole structure of the economy will change. Yeah? Will change very quickly. Yeah? So the print-based, along with industrialization of electric power, change human society. This will change the structure of all our industry. It's a question of time. And knowledge gets updated very quickly. Yeah. So when I was a young boy, if I want to find the capital of, say, Ecuador, I got to go to a library 6 miles from my house to find an encyclopedia to tell me that the capital of Ecuador is Quito. Yeah, and the library might not have the right book or the encyclopedia, right? So, but today you can do it very quickly in less than a second, right? But that capability belongs to everybody. So knowledge gets updated very quickly and it's democratized. Right? And the other thing is that you are going to live longer. You're going to live longer. So whatever you learn today as an actuary, over time needs to be updated. So for me, the skill set, and I'm going to talk the mindset. I'm going to talk quite a few things here. Your curiosity is very important. You can go to many books and they will talk competency to survive in the digital world. So I would say curiosity. Curiosity and a quest for learning. Yeah? A quest for learning. So you must be curious, and then you must have a quest for learning and experimentation. Yeah? And we are not always comfortable with that. Yeah? And I want to say something. What I share with you is based on my experience, and it's based on my personality and the way I interpret the world. My answers may or may not be perfectly correct for everybody because you have a different context, a different interest, and a different opportunity. So you must adjust that. Yeah. So curiosity, learning, lifelong learning, and experimentation. That is partly about the growth mindset, as well as ability to adapt. And I will also throw in about courage and imagination, because you've got to be able to join the dots according to various paradigms. Yeah. So that is about mindset. Yeah. And we could drill down more later. But on skill sets, we are all actuaries, and our anchor, whether we like it or not, our anchor is in mathematics, statistics, yeah, and data. And the industrial revolution, data is the new currency. Data is the new gold, yeah, or the new oil, yeah. So data is very, very powerful. So our ability to manipulate data in data science, machine learning, and AI is an extension of our mathematics. It's not a new domain. It's an extension of our statistics and mathematics. It's just digitized based on unstructured data. Most of the things we learned in the past are based on structured data, but data has become unstructured. So in skill set, the core skill set is mathematics and statistics and stochastic processes and data science. So we got to update. It doesn't mean that you have to be a specialist. We'll talk about that later. But and then your mindset is about curiosity. So you need to be able to wander into adjacent domains, whether they are genetics, behavioral finance, or autonomous vehicles or health ecosystem because they eat into our existing domains. Yeah, our existing domains are essentially life insurance, general insurance, and health insurance, and maybe risk management and investment management. So these 80% or 90% of us work there. But that safe and secure box can be shaken up by changes. In fact, pensions as we know it in UK will gradually phase out, as we knew it, and replaced by something else. So this is the digital revolution, which is my main argument. The second thing is you are living longer lives. You are likely to work in different types of jobs over the next 40 or 50 years. Yeah, and then there are new things which coming in because of the inflection point we are in, which is about uncertainty, which is about COVID-19, which is not a black hole event, unanticipated. Negative interest rates or low interest rates makes our mindset and thinking about compound interest completely topsy-turvy. And then there's climate risk, which is a new risk factor. So we are going to a world of uncertainty. So a different way of handling about it, about judgment is required. So I'm saying a lot in this short reply, but we can expand to it because I'm eager to tell you that the ability is not to say that this is the answer and therefore it must be like that. But some of the eternal truths of the last 2,000 years are still important about work, about keeping your minds open, and all that. But you must be able to a good judge for yourself and be very self-aware about your interests, about your goals, and play this game well. Yeah, so that mindset is quite important.
Okay, thank you, Suee Chieh. This is very helpful. So my takeaway is that curiosity and the continuous learning are the key things. So one of the comments I heard from the actuaries working for big organization is that you will specialize in one area, and then it may be more and more difficult for you to be involved in a bigger picture unless you go for the managerial route. However, there are only limited number of senior management roles in any organization. So if an actuary can't get the support directly from his line manager, what would be your suggestion for these actuaries?
Yes. Firstly, you must know yourself. Yeah. What is your interest and what you're good at? Yeah. A technical role can be very interesting. Yeah? A technical role, a reserve function role can be very interesting. And a manager role in an insurance organization or in a partnership can also be very interesting. What is right for you and how badly do you want it? If your boss, and it's not necessarily your direct boss, it could be your boss or the one who's the chief actuary. So then it's a question of desire, right? Somebody like Cherry might want to be something in the consulting world. She might have a goal, but others may want to be more technical. And you can't say which is superior. It depends on your interests, yeah? And a technical role in itself doesn't mean that you stop learning, yeah? Because your work is going to change. You could be a competent reserve function, actual function holder, or you could be a virtuoso, or you could be a proficient function holder, or you could be a master. So you look at Bruce Lee or Ip Man, right? So a master can handle 10 opponents in one go, right? So are you a master? Or even in a technical role, you can be a master, right? Whether it is IFRS or it is about estimation of liabilities. And are you curious enough about climate risk or sustainability? Are you do you understand the inspiration of regulations as well as negative interest rates? What are the Americans doing and what are Europeans doing? So even in technical roles, there are still many subtleties which you can be a master and be interesting. But I think I encourage you not to be stationary even in technical role. But let us assume that you want to be a CEO or whatever you want to be, because many of your generation, of your age group, I speak what I speak because I'm in my 60s, right? But many in the age group may, in as in Confucius say, there are different stages of a life, right? You now are in a building stage. Yeah? You have a target you want to. Then it best sense, but how strong is your appetite? Yeah, because if you have a clear goal, and you're willing to be focused on it, I'm very sure you'll get it. Nice. Whether you want to be the chief of Asia or you'll get it. Yeah. Then it's a question of being visible to the people who make decisions. That is being using your personal resources to attract the ether from the air to build connections. You cannot say that my boss, there are only limited number of roles, right? But it's a function of how imaginative and creative you are to position yourself to create opportunities. When I was at Prudential, I joined in 1981 and I passed my exams quite quickly, but I was the earliest on my grade. I was able to, my English was very poor, and they had to send me to an English program to get my diction right in a school for about a few months. Yeah, after I qualified, and I learned Virtual C, which is the language at the time, and I could do profit testing very quickly for investment-linked programs, for unit-linked products, and also then I wrote a fairly advanced paper on profit testing for traditional products. And as a result, I caught the attention of very senior actuaries, chief actuaries and deputy chief. And they were sort of my mentors, and I'm still in touch with them. They're in their 80s and 70s. And therefore, you progress, yeah. And then some of them, then eventually I went to Malaysia and all that. So all of us have different pathways, yeah. So it depends on your desire, and also depends on how clear your goal is, right? Because you want a managerial role, and because if you have the desire, you'll build the capabilities. But that, as I caveated earlier on, is a function of your personality and your context. Not everyone is going to be but my advice would apply to more than 60 to 70 or 80%, because there are other types, personality types, because I'm into psychology and personality. It is not about driven by goals like that. Yeah, they are more organic and they are more go by the flow. And there is nothing wrong with that. And they are enough successful. There are people who are successful who are like that. So my advice to you is contingent on my own framing. You have your own framing in your 30s, in your 20s, which you are mostly in that age, and you will take it differently. But desire, what I call the two meta skills, clarity of purpose, your goal, and your drive and focus. If you have these two, you will be resourceful enough, you'll network, you'll learn new skills, you will learn how to communicate, all that, and everything fall into place. But you must have those two meta skills.
Okay, thank you, Suee Chieh. So my takeaway is that we should first find out what our passions are at work, and then become visible and being imaginative and creative at work. Here I have another follow-up question, which is, that machine learning and Python has been a hot topic for the last couple of years. And IFOA is also encouraging actuaries to get involved in data science. There are a lot of actuaries I know who have started learning Python to keep themselves competitive in the job market. But do you think that learning the language is really the solution? The reason I'm asking is because about a few weeks ago, I saw some amazing demos of a mega machine learning model online created by OpenAI. And this AI can write its own poems, articles, and even working code. So to echo back to the previous question, I mean, even if you are technically strong enough, what if you will be replaced by the AI at some point in the future?
Okay, I like to talk to the person who asked this question. Yeah,
I asked the question.
No, but was it your origin? But is it from you yourself?
Yeah, that's my original question. Yes.
So it depends on your own attitude and your skill sets and interests. You see, I think all the newer actuaries. Okay, you don't actually use much of the statistics you learn or compound interest, but you still learn it, right? So most of the newer actuaries learn data science and machine learning because they are not they're an extension of statistics. They're extension, and because of computing power, because if you look into the past, actuaries are people who use compound interest and probability and stochastic process to solve business problems. But to solve our business problems in the future, we got to use data science and machine learning. But coming to you, Suee, that depends on, but you may want to learn a bit, but you don't want to be a specialist because you don't want to be a programmer, but you want to know enough. You want to know enough so that you are part of the conversation in your when you go for an interview. I actually attended a program on Python in a part of business program. But then I know how it's like, but I'm not going to spend my time doing it because I know how to get other people to do it. But you do not, because key to mastery is to have understanding and not to have fear. But once you see it, it's actually like that. So I wrote a program on how to design a game. Actually, a lot of it is packages. It's choosing the right parts of the program to use to send the ping pong ball up and down in a game. Yeah. So you got it. But to be a specialist, I knew that I could spend 10 weeks doing it. Would I do 10 weeks of that or 10 weeks on philosophy? I'll do 10 weeks on philosophy or the history of maths because that's my interest in. So you got to ask yourself, but that may not apply to another young man whose interest is actually programs. Yeah. So he had to go deeper. He has to go deeper, right? And some of us go deeper into COVID-19 or into mortality. They go really deep, in the mortality bulletin. They really go into subclasses, cross morbidity and multi-factor analysis, which is great. But I don't need to know that. I know how to tap on people to know that, right? So you got to ask yourself what is right for you. At this stage of your career, I assume you say that you have been working for 10 years, right? So so you may not want to learn it because you're not going to be a super duper R programmer. I don't think you will, but you could be an organizer for a company working in Asia. So you got to play to your interests, as well as your capability. Yeah. So you got to be self-aware. So the advice will vary, right? So a person who is working in Prudential or whoever, or maybe in a consulting firm, and they are doing IFRS 17, AI can replace a lot of our tasks, but for the next 10 years, because AI is good at narrow intelligence, not general intelligence. So you give them AI Go or chess, they can play and outbid us. But you cannot say AI cook fried kway teow for me. They can't, you see. Only the robot with fried kway teow can do fried kway teow. So it's called general intelligence. But there are scientists who believe that by the year 2050, robots are capable of frying kway teow and playing Go and choosing what to say and write poems at the same time. But they are not there yet. They're not there.
So that's what I heard as well.
But that doesn't mean that you should not learn AI or anything, because the next 10 years, we still need human beings. For the next 50 human beings. In the next 50 years, or 75 years, the profession might not exist because insurance will be organized differently and societies might be organized differently, right? And you can play that game, right? With Elon Musk, he thinks that his children will be in Mars, right? Okay, we can play the game, but that game is a different level of conversation compared to the level we are. Our level is to make sure that the people in this conversation have a thriving career in the next 10 to 15 years. And to have a thriving career, you must be able to be in the conversation. Yeah. And to be in a conversation, you got to be curious. Yeah. You must know what is happening in your adjacent domains, and if better still, in independent domains. Because if you're an independent domain, you can then have leverage. Yeah, you have leverage. So I have psychology. We can go back into that. I have psychology and a lot of other interests. So so you got to think of it. Some of you are thinking this conversation is about career and corporate success, and that is correct at this stage of your life. But a lot, and you will find out, you'll get there. You'll get there. It's amazing that I'm the president, right? I'm a small town, small village. You come to my village today, it's still a small village in Malaysia. I'm a president. But actually, after you achieve whatever success you describe, even if you ask Jack Ma, after a while, a lot of things in life is independent of that role. Although I'm not saying it's unimportant, it's important. but you also must equip yourself to have an interesting life, to have an engaging life, to have a meaningful life, whatever that means to you, whatever that means to you. So you really need to pursue your interest in the spirit of Steve Jobs, right? Steve Jobs say that stay hungry and be foolish and follow your passion. He went to study typography, and we heard about that typography because he loves the beauty of the fonts. Yeah, but that is still in the formulation of the Apple computer when it came, yeah, about the font size and the curvature of the key set and all that, right? But he didn't know that he was going to run Apple, right? He didn't know that he's going to have iPod, but he followed his instinct, right? Because he can, it's ether in the air, and all of us have this ether, right? It's ether. So and it's because you will attract the ideas which are important to you, but you got to be curious, right? Stay alive, network, and when I network, I don't mean relationship build, but network into systems, structural holes, yeah, social system, contact with people.
Okay, thank you, Suee Chieh. This is very helpful. And this will lead to the second topic, which I'm hoping you could touch upon, which is the possibilities for actuaries to work outside the traditional domains. So I noticed in your CV that you've been working in the traditional life insurance sector for 20 years, and then you did a master in organizational psychology, which was very different. Do you mind sharing with us why you did organizational psychology and how did it help you in your career and your life at a later stage?
It is it's out of my passion, yeah. So I was intrigued by psychologists on the London Business School and the Cranfield School faculty when I was about 30 years old, and I'm still in fact I'm writing to one of them to become our thought leadership lecturer in my presidential term. Yeah. And I was intrigued, and I studied about psychological types and how teams are designed. I said, this is really quite cool. And I bought a lot of books in the 1990s, which is, I'm in the 30s at the time, age 30s, yeah, on psychological types. And I had done many short courses, Myers-Briggs, transactional analysis, Fibro-B, Enneagram, Big Five. I've done all these programs, culture and all that, because I was intrigued and curious. So I left Prudential because I was a bit bored, and also I could have picked quite early. I became a CEO at the age of 34. So by the time I'm 40, 41, I was a regional MD looking after Malaysia, Singapore, Hong Kong, and Thailand, and I was an entry team for India and all that. And I didn't quite enjoy the office issues at that time. So I left. I went to Columbia to study my passion, but I really was interested in psychology, and I wanted to do organizational change and transformation because in Prudential I was more into that area. So when I did the 18 months I spent in New York was one of the best periods I did. I was 41 years old, 40 years old, because it rebuilt very strong intellectual foundation into psychology, into economics, into philosophy, and all that. And I did an into literature because I was interested. And then I worked in a human resource. You missed that just now. I was in a human resource firm. It's a listed company called Saville Horsworth, but now it's bought over by private equity. Named after two very famous British occupational psychologists, yeah, Saville and Horsworth. I was with them for 4 years after the 2 years, and I was an Asia Pac head, and I learned a great deal about running a different business model. Then I went to NTU. Okay, so how did that help me? Psychology, I was into psychology and culture, group dynamics and organizational change. They're all linked. Psychology is about individuals and personality types. Groups are about group dynamics. Organization about organization. Anthropology is about society and societal change. So I'm always interested in change and how systems cope with change. What I'm trying to do at IFOA is to engineer, to help and encourage a change in governance and a change in culture, because we do not feel that we are responsive enough, we are not member-centric enough, and we are not responsive means speedy, and the degree of ownership is not high enough. Yeah, I'll be very authentic in this. I will say this consistently wherever I go. So that is my campaign. But for that to change, the governance had to change. for governments to change, the culture of the actuaries have to change. Culture is a mindset. Mindset of actuaries are very careful, detailed, consistent, and therefore they want to cross all the T's and dot all the I's before they change. But in the world of digital, that's not going to work. Yeah, in the world of COVID-19, that's not going to work. You got to trust your instincts and you got to use metaphors and narratives for your conversations. Yeah. So this whole body of work is another webinar because it's about transformation, systems thinking, circuit order thinkings, and levels of work. And I couldn't do the role in IFOA the way I'm doing it if I don't have the experience in NTUC and also Colombia, because I'm attempting to change the system, not playing an ambassadorial role as a president. Ambassadorial means I go and shake hands and give speeches. I can do that as well, but I'm less interested in that. I want to see change so that the profession will be an exciting profession with a social purpose, but at the same time very rewarding for our members within our primary domains, but also in new domains where our anchor can add value. And I also think that we are playing too low again in UK. We are not speaking up on important issues we can exert influence on. We become a rule taker, a receiver of change, rather than an agent of change. It was not like that 30 years ago. 30 years ago, it was like the actuaries were on the front foot, but we made mistakes since then. The biggest mistake was the Equitable Life, and then the Morris report. And then there's a big but then Chinese will tell you there are cycles in life, right? So these are all the cycles, and every problem has a solution, and a new solution will bring a new set of problems. So you got to be a bit philosophical as well at times.
Okay, so like you said, I mean, apart from the core domains, you want the actuaries to explore in the new areas. So so which other areas or sector you think that actuaries can add value and can be influential?
I think in data science consulting, in banking, health ecosystem, platform companies. There's a Malaysian actually working for Huawei, you know, in UK, and there are many actuaries in Singapore working for Grab, which is equivalent to Uber in Singapore, but they are not necessarily FIAs, but they are degree holders in actuarial science. And in Australia, a lot of actuaries left life insurance because of regulation, and one of them formed a company called Quantium. And you can go to one of the presentations where they list all the actuaries who work in different areas in regulation and policy and consulting. But a lot of it has a common denominator, that they deal with data. So if you are with a consulting firm, you will have exposure to more variety of work, yeah, because of the way we think. So you got a practical issue, right? The people who give you study leave and secure job will be traditional. So you go there. At some point, you can go as far as you want but always remain curious and engaged. You can also switch country or switch function, go to marketing, operations, then you learn new things. But you learn new thing, right? But from time to time, there could be a restructuring. You may leave the company, and then you start something else. And there are so many stories of actuaries working on their own, doing projects, or start an educational business or whatever. So you got to play. You got to, because the world where you do only one job for the rest of your life is going to disappear, I think. So you can jump. You can jump to adjacent. Banking is an interesting one. Climate science is an interesting one. Health ecosystem is an interesting one, because or even credit card companies, as long as there's data. Then the practical issue is that, will I get the same pay? Okay, you might not get the same pay because it's not as reserved as where you are now. So the higher you are, the harder it is to switch unless you got additional skills. Additional skills. I switched from a life to a HR head. I think my long-term incentive was lower, but my pay was protected, and I switched. Partly because my skill was more of a CEO skill, more of a CEO skill. They were not after my actuarial skill, so my CEO skill. So I feel that the work I like to do after IFOA would probably has to do with transformation, because I'm curious about that, and that has so many dynamics. So you got to find what is in your secret sauce, right? So your secret sauce and Gina's secret sauce might be different, right? Gina might go back and do something, fintech. Fintech is a great area. There are many actuaries working in fintech, yeah, because their numbers, they understand business model, and sometimes they do it not because of choice. Sometimes it could be their existing employer have restructuring. But many actuaries are working in fintech. We've got a number of permutations. Got a number of permutations. But I think the answer will vary according to individual. But I also will tell you, when you have setbacks, don't think it's permanent. It's not permanent. The only thing is that you don't give up. Yeah, don't give up, and be curious and be persevere. I have setbacks, yeah, in my life. Yeah, setback in my life. All of us do. In fact, we have setbacks from a month to month, but they are small setbacks. But they are make your disadvantage an advantage. Yeah, a disadvantage into an advantage.
That's great. Thank you, Suee Chieh. This is very insightful. Here, I got a follow-up question from the audience. Can you please expand more on data is the new gold? It seems like only big corporations are accumulating them. Would it be a concern for you?
I think it is. Okay, there's a different take. So the platform companies, Google, Facebook, so one area you can go into AI ethics. I'm not sure if it's intriguing for you. AI ethics or data science ethics will be an interesting field, and cybersecurity. Okay, cybersecurity is also you're talking about relevant fields over blockchain. So now you're asking me blockchain is also, but it is a concern. Okay, it's right that people are paying attention. Personally, I've signed up for the digital age, and I think that there will be other people sorting out the privacy rules to make sure that the big boys do not over monopolize our lives. Yeah, the European community is leading that. I'm less concerned as an individual. So I'm in Instagram, Facebook, and I got friends who won't even open a social media account, but I'm going to embrace it. Yeah, because I feel that it's more advantageous than disadvantageous, but that is personal, right? Because my orientation to risk is different. So why big data is a new goal? Because in pricing, okay, let's say health insurance pricing or general insurance pricing is very clear, right? I can get more updated information about your driving behavior or your lifestyle from our current data, instead of looking at the age rating model which we have, which is age, sex, smoker, non-smoker. Yeah, but I can have greater predictive powers using big data, which is data of now. Even economics, even if you look at car parks in outside Walmart, whether the car park is full or not, is a good leading indicator comparing to the reports from purchasing index, which is 2 months old. So because everything is digital, the idea is that if you want to get an estimate on risks, on liabilities, it's better to use current data. So if I'm into psychology and I want to know your personality type, I ask you 10, 20, 50 questions. Then I know whether you are ENTJ, ESTJ, or type 8, 1 to type 9, or ocean. Yeah. So it's based on questionnaire. But I could look at your Facebook likes, and if I can get the last 170 likes, we are able to predict your psychological type to 98% accurate, and also predict your sexual orientation, because you can use those data and map into the real life data and do a mapping. It's called factor analysis and discriminant analysis. And because you got data in so much dimension and your computing power is so great, you could get results quicker, whether it's in economics or in claims management, with drones flying around and looking at accident spots and climate changes, and on health ecosystem, your variables, what you eat and drink, and your exercise behavior is a better predictor to your likelihood to fall sick or have cancer in the next 2 years than your structured data. So that's why data is a new goal. And the valuations, and the people who pioneer it is largely Amazon, who are able to do the books and recommend likes and get it distributed, which is logistic marvel, and people like Google, right? So they know exactly how to play this game. And China is not too bad, right? China is too bad. And then you got facial recognition and all that. Right? So all those are data which is now can be seized upon instantaneously because computing power is increasing every 18 months. Unlike the mortality tables we use, the morbidity tables we use. Yeah. So we must be able to navigate the transition from structured data to unstructured data, which is what big data. That's why data is the new goal. And that's the reason why the valuation of Amazon and Google are that high, apart from advertising revenue. Because every industry structure is subject to its power, right? To its power. Because none of the big insurance companies, they talk about digital transformation, but their model is still largely a product and services model, and they are trying to digitize their processes. The mindset of a platform company, platform-based is completely different. And for those actuaries in this audience who have the interest and appetite, I would highly recommend you to attend a 10-week program run by Columbia Business School called Digital Transformation, and it's distributed by Emeritus. You do a Google and it's a 10, and you do a lot of, and then you get a hang of it. You get a hang of it, and you get the language of a platform companies. Yeah, and no insurance companies think like that. I'm aware of. I'm aware of think.
Okay, thank you, Suee Chieh. This is extremely helpful and insightful. We actually got a few questions from the Q&A box on Zoom, but I'm afraid we're running out of time for this session. So otherwise, we can keep talking. We should definitely arrange another session later this year or the beginning of next year, if you don't mind.
Okay, we'll do it live and have a Chinese
Yeah, absolutely. The Chinese New Year dinner and also maybe another session with our members.
So my views are not new, yeah, but I'm very happy to be engaged with you guys. If you like, you can. I'm starting an Instagram thing. I started a month ago, but I'm doing because my 61 tips was very popular, and many students in Asia and Africa and India email me things. You see, so I decided to expand on each 61 tip, a tip a week. So I'm going to start next week. Yeah. So you follow me on Instagram, Suee Chieh, and I wouldn't publish most of this in LinkedIn because LinkedIn is a more mature crowd. I don't want to tell them to save money, right? I mean, they're all CEOs who save money. Because one of the tips is to save money and the power of compound interest, right? So those tips I won't put in LinkedIn. It's a wrong crowd. But the Instagram is meant for students. I got a lot of Malaysian students who are sort of always emailing me questions. Malaysians for students and young actuaries, and you are not. You are still very young, yeah, and there's still a lot of things I can share with you. So you can do the Instagram thing. But the more relevant one, I will put in LinkedIn. But I also do not want to overdo it because LinkedIn is more for a more senior audience, yeah, more senior.
Yeah, audience. But do you also have a YouTube account?
You can go to my YouTube channel. I have my own YouTube channel which is called Suee Chieh. It's called Suee Chieh. I got and all my videos are there. I got about 50 videos there.
Oh, that'll be great. I mean, it will be very helpful for our members just to look at your previous videos.
And I have not launched it yet, but since you are give you a privilege information, you can go to my website, which I have not launched. I have an old website called tansuechieh.org, which I did when I was campaigning. So because no one knew me, who I was, no one in UK. So I put, but now I got a new one called tansuechieh.com. You're going to have a look. And if you like, just email me some suggestions. But I'm slowly putting things there, partly because see, the important thing is not knowledge and information. It's not. What I say to you, you can get anyone else. The question is, when a student is ready, the teacher will appear. The issue is the student, the person, right? When you're ready and you want to do things, it will go. And the teacher could be anyone, or could be any book, will come at the right time in your life. Yeah, because your life, you can be an artist of your life. You really can be especially you, because you are no longer trapped in a repressive system. You can't travel. You already got your income. Also, your income is, I don't know what your income is, and actually you earn 50, 80, 100,000 pounds a year at least, right? Yeah. You're already there. So the rest is all enjoy. Don't worry too much, but be curious and learn.
Okay, excellent. That's great. Thank you. Thank you, Suee Chieh. Thank you so much for taking the time to share experience with our audience tonight.